Welcome back, everyone. Ready to dive into something delicious.
Always ready for that.
Today, we're tackling food and wine pairing.
Mm.
But, not the basic stuff. We're going beyond red with meat today.
Yeah, time to get creative.
Right. And our guide for this is, well, it's a bit special. It's a book, actually. It's called Harmonização Criativa.
Catchy title.
It is. But it's in Portuguese. So, consider us your translators for this deep dive.
I'm up for the challenge. So what makes this book stand out besides being, in Portuguese?
It goes way beyond the usual pairing lists. It's like a culinary journey across different cuisines and how to approach them with a fresh perspective.
A fresh perspective, huh? I like that.
Yeah, it's all about understanding the why behind a pairing, not just memorizing what goes with what.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So break it down for me. What's the why? What's the core concept here?
It's all about balance, really, like a perfectly seasoned dish.
Right, you don't want one flavor to overpower everything else.
Exactly. It's the same with wine and food. You want them to work together, not clash.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So no magic formula then.
No magic formula, but definitely some guiding principles. Like, first, you got to match the intensity, right?
Right.
So, like, a bold, hearty dish needs a wine that can stand up to it.
Okay, so bold with bold, delicate with delicate.
You got it. Then you think about complementing or contrasting flavors. Like, sometimes a rich, fatty dish is amazing with a high acidity wine. It cuts through that heaviness.
Ah, so it's like a balancing act on your taste buds.
Exactly. And this one surprised me, texture matters too.
Texture, you mean like the wine itself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the book is this example of a simple salad, right? Nothing fancy. But pair it with a crisp, acidic white wine.
Yeah.
Suddenly the salad's textures and flavors pop. It's crazy.
Wow, I never thought about it like that. So it's like the wine isn't just there to drink, it actually changes the way you experience the food.
Exactly. Now, don't worry. This book doesn't totally ditch the classics.
Right, because sometimes you just want that classic pairing.
Exactly. Red meat and red wine. Totally still works. But the book helps you understand why it works. And then from there,
You can get creative.
you got it.
Yeah.
Think outside the box. It even suggests things like Pinot Noir with Japanese food.
Pinot Noir. Interesting. Now that's not something you see every day.
Right. And that's just the beginning. The book takes us on a whole culinary trip around the world.
Oh, where are we headed?
We're talking Italian, French, Spanish, Asian, Latin American. It's a whole global adventure for your taste buds.
All right, passport ready. Give me a preview. What's one pairing that really blew your mind?
Okay, get this. Dry German Riesling with sushi.
Wait, Riesling with sushi. I mean, I love both, but together.
I know, right? It sounds crazy. But apparently the minerality of the Riesling,
Complements the delicate fish flavors. Yeah, okay, I can kind of see it.
it's all about that balance, and that's just a taste. If something as seemingly simple as a salad or as non-winey as sushi can be elevated, well, imagine the possibilities with all those other global cuisines.
You've definitely got me curious. So we've gone from salads to sushi, but where do we go from there? Does this book keep up with all the modern stuff?
Oh, yeah. It dives headfirst into all that. It's got a whole section on vegetarian and vegan pairings.
Which, let's be real, that's a whole different ball game. No more easy red meat, red wine combo.
Right. It's tricky. But the book really emphasizes finding wines that can hold their own against, those strong, earthy flavors you get with a lot of veggie-focused dishes.
Yeah, you wouldn't want the wine to just disappear, would you?
Exactly. It's still all about balance.
Ugh.
And speaking of challenges, what about molecular gastronomy? All those foams and gels where do you even start pairing that with wine?
It does sound pretty wild, doesn't it? But believe it or not, Harmonização Creativa tackles it head on. It talks about how those unique textures and super intense flavors actually need the acidity and aroma of the wine to balance them out.
So it's almost like you need a whole different approach with molecular gastronomy. It's not just about the taste, it's about how the wine interacts with, the structure of the food.
Right. And even the temperature, how hot or cold the dish is, all that plays a part.
Wow, that's fascinating. It's like this book is telling us to think of food and wine pairing as a true art form where anything's possible.
Definitely. And that experimentation goes for fusion cuisine, too. All those global flavors coming together in one dish.
That just sounds like a pairing nightmare. How do you even begin to pick a wine for something like that?
The book actually points to newer wine regions as being more adaptable to those complex flavors, places like Chile, Argentina.
That makes sense. They're always experimenting with different grape varieties, so they probably have something for everything. Oh, and speaking of unexpected pairings, you mentioned that whole section on street food. Did you get to that?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. The book really embraces the idea of fun, casual pairings. Like, imagine a crisp vino verde with a spicy chorizo taco.
Okay, stop. You're making me hungry. This whole conversation has been eye-opening. It's like, I don't know, maybe I've been playing it too safe with wine all these years.
Mhm.
But this book seems to be about so much more than just specific recommendations, doesn't it?
For sure. It's about giving you the tools and knowledge to trust your own taste and explore.
So it's not about following rules. It's about developing your palate, paying attention to those nuances, and then just going for it.
Exactly. The book really emphasizes that.
And it doesn't just throw all this theory at you, right? It gets practical.
Absolutely. There are loads of tips for creating menus with pairings, whether it's a casual get-together or like a fancy dinner party.
I love that. So it's something you can use again and again. This whole deep dive has honestly got me feeling inspired. How about you? What's been the most intriguing thing you've learned from Harmonization Creativa?
I think what really stood out to me is that the book emphasizes that food and wine pairing isn't about, it's not about rigid rules. It's about an ongoing exploration of taste and discovery.
So it's a journey, not just a destination.
Exactly. It's about being open to new possibilities and trusting your own intuition. And honestly, I think that's something we can all apply to, well, to lots of things in life, not just food and wine.
Such a good point. It's about approaching things with curiosity
Yeah.
and that willingness to experiment. Who knows what you might find?
And speaking of finding things, I'm curious, what's the most unexpected pairing you've ever stumbled across?
Ooh, good question. Now you've got me thinking. I used to think wine pairing was this whole like fancy, intimidating thing, but this book, it's really shown me it's more about finding those aha moments.
Yeah.
Those surprising combinations that just work.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get stuck on the idea of right and wrong. Like there's only one way to do it.
Right, right. But this book, it's really more about guidelines, not rules.
Exactly. It's giving you the knowledge to understand why things work. And then from there, you can get creative.
Yeah, it's like learning the scales before you improvise, right?
Perfect analogy. And speaking of getting creative, the book even talks about going beyond just pairing. Like, it suggests organizing tastings,
Oh,
dinners.
yeah, sharing the experience.
Exactly. I mean, food and wine, they're meant to be shared, right? Enjoy with friends, family.
It's about making a meal an event, a
Yeah,
celebration.
right. And it can be as simple or as fancy as you want. Casual weeknight dinner, themed tasting party.
Exactly. And what makes it so fun is that everyone brings their own, like, perspectives and experiences to the table.
Right.
You end up learning from each other.
For sure. So as we wrap up our deep dive into Harmonización Creativa, what's the one thing you hope our listeners take away from all this?
Ooh, good question.
No pressure.
I hope they feel like they can approach food and wine pairing with confidence, you know, not be afraid to experiment, try new things.
And have fun. Don't forget the fun.
Yes.
Exactly.
Food and wine are supposed to be enjoyed, not, like, overanalyzed.
Couldn't agree more. And who knows, maybe this deep dive will inspire someone to go on their own culinary adventure.
Right. Maybe they'll find a new favorite wine or create their own signature pairing. Or, maybe they'll just start paying more attention to how flavors and textures work together.
That's a great start. And if they do discover something amazing, we want to hear about it.
Yes. Share those culinary triumphs with us, those unexpected pairings.
Even the delicious mishaps. Because, hey, even a failed experiment, it's still a learning experience.
So true. So to everyone listening, cheers to your next culinary adventure.